All right. So after what is it, 5 hours of showing you guys a tutorial, I'm gonna answer some of your questions. So let's see what you guys got for me. Does Feng Wei have any reliable combo follow-ups after a low parry? Let's see. I'll show you the low parry combos I know with Feng, and let's see. So I'll record this into that. So the best you can do this to tag off of that. That's a decent low parry combo, but it's shitty damage. Or you can do forward 3-4 and tag, and that's decent. Let me see. Forward 3-4 and the tag. Tight. Why am I doing that shit? Well, that was tight. I think that's one of the highest damage low parry combos. I think this is higher damage. Yeah, 100. That's 46. So that's the highest low parry damage he can do by himself. But you can also tag off of forward 3-4 at first, which can bring in, you know, another character and fuck some shit up like that. So, you know, there's decent options for low parry. It's not bad. His low parry combos are pretty solid. That question was from Sub-Z Roman. He looks like a Mortal Kombat player, so that's cool. Let's see. Scumbag is asking, don't you think it's time for some flowers? And I do. What's Feng's weaknesses? There aren't really many weaknesses for this character. I mentioned the reason why there are no weaknesses is because he has so many moves, and they're all so dangerous. I wouldn't even call it a weakness. I would just say the only thing that keeps him away from being super fucking good is just his lower than omnipotent damage at the wall. But otherwise, Feng, I honestly don't think Feng has a weak side, because most of the moves that you use that are tracking moves will track to both sides. Like fish hook tracks to both sides, homing down forward 3 tracks to both sides, sidestep 2 tracks to both sides, and down back 4 tracks to both sides. And there's a lot. I mean, most of the moves he has that track will track to both sides, and if not, they have really reliable tracking to one side, and he can cover both just as easily. So I don't think he has a weak side, in my opinion. Let's see, and that question was from a random Jin. Let's see, what else do we got? Who do I think? Let's see, Yannick Daryl. I don't know what is something. The Sunset Yoshi. There we go. The Sunset Yoshi is asking, what kind of character do you think makes the best partner for Feng? I think that one of the reasons why Feng is so good is because he's one of the best point characters in the game, and that means the reason for that is because he can tag. He has many opportunities to tag. So even off of his hop kick, you can tag with forward 4-3 and bring in your rage character at any time. That's why he's a great partner for any character in the game, much like Lars and Leo. But as I said, or any of the Mashimas. But as I said, the problem is that he doesn't have the crazy wall combo damage. So I think Feng is one of the best point characters in the game. I think he complements any character in the game really well. So you compare him up literally with any character, and there are only a few characters that I think do that really well. So he's versatile enough to get max damage with just about any character, and he tags so well. So, you know, he's a fantastic character overall, just shy of, like, you know, the top level characters in the game. Let's see. Are his other moves like down forward 3+4 and sidestep 2 as reliable as his back 4 in open space, or are they good moves? Yeah, I talked about those earlier. They all have situational purposes. When you're up close in open ground, back 4 tracks both ways. The only problem with it is the range is really short. So against a character that has really good, really big backdash, it's dangerous. For that reason, you have to mix in down forward 3+4 because it's a true mid-homing move and it has much longer range than fish hook. So a single backdash will get, this will at least get blocked, so you don't have to worry about any whiffs. all of his homing moves have some purpose. You just like all of his other moves. It's really important to mix all his moves up. That's how I think of it. Again, as I mentioned, Ricky from Lancaster, all he did was fucking shoulder all day long and down back 3 and just be a bitch. But he's so good at the game, he's so exceptionally strong at defense that he utilizes this character to a maximum potential, but he's playing a completely different style. And that's why I think the character is good. Let's see. Any other questions? Either on, let's see here. Sorry if you mentioned this, but down forward 2-2 good. I mentioned it briefly. Yes, down forward 2-2 is super fucking good. The second hit is what fucks people up so much because it kind of looks a little bit like forward 2, the first hit alone. So the first hit alone looks similar to forward 2, and if you use forward 2 correctly, like the way you use Demon Paw with Jin or Devil Jin, you're doing it from the range. You're doing like tip range, and you're doing a big dash to do forward 2. And if you stay a little bit out of that range and do down forward 2-2, what you can do is hit the opponent with the second hit, and they are gonna get pissed off because it looks like forward 2, and they'll get counter hit. So down forward 2-2 is fucking great. It's a really good wall splat move. It's safe on block. It's reliably low hitting mid, and it's just solid overall good damage. Definitely, it's a usable move. Any other questions that aren't really fucking stupid? Otherwise, I'm going to call it a day and go look at all kinds of flowers. What moves give good frame advantage? Adanemo is asking. I mean, there's a lot of moves that could give good frame advantage, but I think frame advantage is not the key with Feng. The key is 0. I mean, the key is being at 0, or Feng's sweet spot when it comes to frame data is 0 to -5. From 0 to -5, you can use things like back 3+4, or backswing blow, or just simply backdash, or sidewalk, or let's see, down back 1 or down back 3 to high crush, or up forward 3 for low crush. All these moves that have evasive properties with Feng, as well as moves like back 1, or even simple poke strings that are 10 frames, all these poke strings and all this stuff works exceptionally well at around 0 frames to -5. That's the sweet spot. So moves that give you -5 or from 0 frames to -5 are down forward 1 on block, 1-2 on block. This shit into back turn is pretty decent even on block because you're causing hesitation. Lots of shit. Up forward 3 is I think 0 to -2 on block. What else? There's just a ton of moves that he has that put you in a situation. Full crouch down 4 on hit is also a good one. They put you in situations where you can continue, and what happens is if 1 or 2 times you do down forward 1, 2, and then back Kempo launcher, and they do something stupid, they're gonna start thinking like, man, I should really think about what I'm doing before I do it. And once they start doing that, that means even more bullshit from you. They start hesitating, and basically the big thing that you got to take full advantage of with Feng is the hesitation. The double button pressing forward 3-3, like I mentioned earlier, they're looking for that forward 3-4. But you do forward 3-3, and even on block, the opponent's going to be standing there like a deer in the headlights, waiting for that second kick so they can launch it. And you know those listening motherfuckers, you know they're listening. You hit those buttons really hard like Mad Dog Jin, and it's going to cause mental frame advantage. Hesitation data. That shit has existed since the beginning of fighting games. Hesitation data. So moves like fucking down back 2-2 cancel, forward 2, and then you don't do the second hit, or 1-1-1. They're going to be waiting for 1-1-2, or if you do 1-1-2-2, you know, these are situations where you're creating frame advantage, and you know, it's something that no matter what your opponent does, they will not be able to block out these button presses. They will not be able to block it out. It's something that it's human nature to use all your senses to win in a situation where you are nervous, or any situation where you want to win. Any top player from here to fucking Japan uses all their senses that are available. So if your opponent is not using a headset, I mean, even if they're using a headset, if you hit the buttons hard enough, they're going to fucking hear you. On top of the fact that they're going to see you swinging your hands around. But the point is that no matter who they are, no matter how much they swear they're not listening to buttons, these fucking, especially pad users, they got the silencer on with that pad. They're not pushing any buttons. Look at this shit. I'm pushing these buttons right now. You can't hear shit. Look at this pad. Fucking no button presses. It's cheap as fuck. And they're not... See, another stick player, he has to worry about his own button presses. So sometimes it gets muffled out in the ambient sound. But it's definitely important, especially against characters, against players who are listeners. You gotta definitely do that. And with characters who have strings like Feng, you have to fake button press. Just ask Mad Dog. He'll tell you. Mad Dog will tell you. You know how those Korean guys, they come here, even Japanese guys, they come here from their country, and you know they got the back-to-backs over there. If you look at that guy, I forget his fucking name, that Korean guy that won King of Fighters at EVO last year, that guy, all those Korean players, they had this big-ass partition so that you couldn't hear or see what they're doing with their buttons. It is definitely a factor. So... you know, it's really important to remember that. I remember that fucking when Ao came here the first time, the Japanese Alisa player, he was putting a blanket over his hands to muffle the sound and to not see his hands when he's playing. That's how important it is. Trust me. When I've said it in the past, like in the past I've talked about pad versus stick, and I've said how one of the advantages to pad is that it's quiet. People have said, "Oh, you're fucking retarded." You know, how are you gonna use that as a asterisk, like as this is like a pro for a pad? Anyone who doesn't think that pad has an advantage of being quiet is a damn fool. I'm telling you right now. Anyone who thinks that pad, because it's quiet, doesn't have an advantage is a damn fool. End of story. Pad can do everything that stick can do. It's been proven. I watched fucking Q-Dance play on pad, and he was kicking the shit out of everyone on pad with Mishima's Waveu. He was doing the wave dash for free, and he's kicking the shit out of everyone. So that's how you know in the right hands, pad can do anything that stick does, and it's fucking quiet. It's fucking silencer. It's cheap as hell. You don't show up on the radar. Basically, you equip a pad in your class and you do not show up on the Tekken radar, and it's fucking cheap. So in order to counterbalance the advantage of a pad player, you gotta fucking mash on those Mad Dog Jin buttons, dude. You may have to replace a button or two in your day, but it's worth it. Buttons cost $250 and tournament wins are priceless. So one example of this is when I played against Arario about 4 weeks ago. So, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. So the first week I played against Arario at Wednesday Night Fights. If you guys recall watching that match, he pushed my shit in like crazy. I mean, he kicked the shit out of me that game. Two games straight. He kicked the shit out of me. And I went home and I thought to myself, okay, what is the problem? And I thought the Mad Dog Jin popped in my head, dude. He popped in my head because, you know, when I was playing against him with Feng, because I always start Feng off. I think he's a great point character. So when I'm playing against him with Feng, I'm standing at this range against this Jack, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy is whiff punishing me perfectly with down forward 2. But how could you do that every time? Because sometimes I'll whiff something little, or like I'll do something like that, and he's not whiffing. And I'm thinking to myself, how is he doing this? And I realized exactly how he's doing it. He's a listener. And whether or not he's doing it on purpose is irrelevant. The point is he's a listener. So if you go back, I also had a couple other things that I needed to, of course, clean up in my game. But if you go back and watch me play him the following week, I beat him 2 times. I put him into losers, and then I beat him out of losers. And the reason I was able to do that is because I realized he's a listener, and I started pushing the buttons so hard, he didn't even know what to do. He didn't even know what was going to come out. Plus, he hates strings. You know, Arario, he's one of those guys. He's got the perfect timing. He's got great timing. He has great offense and great defense. But you know what? He doesn't know everything about the game. And it's really important to take full advantage about people who don't know all the strings, or they're just listeners. They're listeners. Full advantage. It's really important. Let's see. Any other questions? Because I'm going to cut this shit out. Who would you recommend watching for high-level Feng play? This guy asks. His name is Shibble. So, when I went to Japan the first time, there was a lot of Feng players. He was a really popular character, and yeah, he asked other than you and How, what are some good Feng players? So when I went to Japan the first time, there was a lot of good Feng players there, and I had already watched you play for several years because he played T5, and I already knew about How. But honestly, this guy that I think is really good with Feng is Thailand Curry. He's a Japanese Feng player, and he's not as successful in tournament as you. And but I think the way he plays the character is much more complete, and he's really good. So if you can look up Thai Curry, THAICURRY, I think he's a really good Feng player. Otherwise, I think Hao is really good, HAO. He's really good. He's a Korean player. But ever since Tag 2 came out, I feel like his offense has been really kind of weak and unimpressive. Oh, yeah, Jimmy, you're right. Taizo is really good, too. He's entertaining to watch. But, yeah, I mean, just look up some Feng matches. Pretty much any, solid, decently ranked Feng player in Japan and Korea will teach you something. They're solid players. Feng is a pretty underused character in America for the time being, but I think there's going to be a lot of people playing this character now, especially because of his combo potential, and just overall, he's just a really good character. Hao is probably the best Feng player in the world, probably, but I feel like he's gotten a lot sloppier since this game has come out. And how are you gonna fucking lose to Ni so much, man? Come on, dude. Ni is good, but all those Korean guys treat him like like he is just on an omnipotent level. Other than JDCR, JDCR does not think like JDCR told me like Ni wouldn't even be popular if I fucking lived 5 minutes away from the arcade. Because JDCR told me he has to travel like 45 minutes to an hour to get to Green Arcade, and that's the only reason why Ni is so popular. He's always playing. Just give me fucking 5 minutes away from the arcade, he told me, and he's like, I'd be that good. He feels really confident against Ni. So that's interesting. I think Ni is really good, of course, one of the best Tekken players on the planet, but I just don't like to see Hao get his shit pushed in by Ni so often. It just seems like every time I watch a Hao match, Ni is just fucking him up, and I don't like seeing that. Yeah, JDCR is a huge shit talker. Anyway, is there any other shit that you guys are interested in, or anything that maybe I forgot to cover, or any moves that are different? What's your best choice against quarter circle forward low high mix up? I don't even know what that means. What do you mean against? Against his quarter circle forward low high mix up? Well, his quarter circle forward mix up, in my opinion, is definitely crouch dash 1 versus crouch dash 4, but both are relatively risky. And instead of crouch dash 1 versus crouch dash 2, but you can use crouch dash 3 as well. I just think crouch dash 2 looks similar to crouch dash 1. So that's why I think it's a decent mix-up. Let's see. Any other questions? Who does JDCR think? Well, that has nothing to do with Feng. So keep your questions. Habits not to get into with Feng. Well, there are just some moves that you don't want to use too much. There are moves that are really good that you don't want to use too much, like forward 3-4. You can't hit them from that, so you don't want to just be abusing it. Shoulder, you got to make sure it hits every time. Sidestep 4, it's a great move, and you get greedy sometimes, but you can't abuse it. So dangerous. Back turn down 3, again, really, really cheap move, but the cheapest thing about these types of moves is their existence. You don't necessarily want to, do these moves and, fuck anything up. Oh man, I forgot about doing some wall carry stuff. Okay, before I go, here's some wall carry stuff. So if you do a regular combo and you end with something like that and you want to wall carry, you can just 1-2 and then 1-2 again at the wall, and that will give you a free shoulder. And the good thing about this shoulder is it switches positions. So if the opponent tag crashes, which they often do to save their own lives when they're almost dead, you will see that not only do they get rid of their Netsu, but well, in that case he didn't turn around, but usually the shoulder will position change in that case. And when it does, and they tag crash, they will tag crash back into the wall. Let's see if it works right here. Like that. So the tag crash will hit you for no damage, but they tag crash into the wall, which is really good because you can continue your offense. So that's one reason why that's really good. Second thing you could do if you wall carry to the wall, if you don't feel like doing 1-2 into whatever that is, I like to do down forward 1 into down back 1 into forward Kempo. That's what's really good, and I'll show you why. So if I turn this guard all bullshit off, and I do take tag crash off and set them to tech roll. So off of a normal combo, you do that same shit, wall carry, down forward 1, down back 1, forward Kempo. From there, you get a 50-50 between the low and the mid. Now, the cheap thing about the mid is, at the wall, it pushes Feng back. So you could do the same shit that I told you earlier, where even though it's minus 12, at the wall, it can push back far enough for you to be able to duck under jab retaliations and get a wall standing 3. Another thing is, if this shit hits at the wall, you get this combo. Down forward 3 puts them back at the wall, which is pretty solid. Let's see here. I'll show you guys what it looks like. Oop, fucked it up, but you get the point. So that's really good at the wall. Down forward 1, down back 1. Also, you can do like, there's a lot of other stuff you could do, like forward 2, 1, 2, or down forward 1 shoulder, or whatever. But those are the two things I do. I like to keep it simple. There isn't too much need for you to get too crazy, especially when it's a tournament match, which is pretty much what I focus on personally. If you're into like long sets, there's a ton of stupid mix-ups and gimmicks and shit you can do. Let me put it at the wall again. For example, what am I doing here? Advanced settings. Oh, where is this shit? Position settings. Wall. There we go. So another thing you can do, for example, is if you hit with something like this and you don't want to do a tag assault, you can end with this shit, and that will hit low, which is good. But on top of that, if let's say you hit with this on counter hit, if you do this, you can bring in your other character and potentially end with a guaranteed red life combo if they have something that hits low like that. But you can also do the stupid jump over tech catch. And the cheap thing about the jump over tech catch for Feng is he actually has really good jump over moves. So back turn 2-2 is a great mix up there. Back turn throws are really good there. And you know, it's something that you should just remember for mixing it up. Jump over into low. I mean, there's a lot of shit you can do. That jump over tech catch is exceptionally strong with Feng because of that very purpose. What other setups are there at the wall? I think I covered everything. I'm sure I missed a thing or two, but you know, it's been fucking 6 hours and shit. So hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. Hopefully I answered all your questions. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that fucking heart right over there. And if I do another one of these, it will be Armor King next. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And I will catch you guys later.